Hello and welcome. I'm Jon Garlick, and I'm here with Sergeant Carl Moses from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office, and this is Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Carl.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
It's been a while since we've had you on the show.
It has.
Just a little while.
Just a little bit.
Let's take a quick look at the count. You guys were busy.
Yes.
Tell us.
You want to talk about who's been arrested?
No, just the 11, where the count is.
We arrested 11 more this week from the Most Wanted. Brings our total to 5,078.
So that's a lot of people, and all of the citizens of Calhoun County working real hard to support the sheriff's office. And you're our mental health officer.
I am, yes, sir.
You replaced the first mental health officer.
Yes, I did.
You did. And but you're also in charge of the school resource officers.
Correct.
And that's an interesting place because the schools last year started a mental health liaison, right?
That's correct.
So now with you over the school resource officer, that brings an added benefit to that program as well as just the regular SRO program.
It does, yes. And we've recently tried to train our guys that are in the schools on ways to recognize signs, maybe that if they see them in students, that they can guide students to the proper people that work for the schools and try to maybe stop something early or catch it early.
Yeah, catching it early is important. Mental illness, a lot of it is inherited, so it would be good to catch it somewhere before 3rd grade.
Right.
And that's why the mental health liaisons are there, to help with referrals and help the counselors. They're also beefing up the school counselor programs, where the school counselors are doing less administration and more counseling.
Right.
So things will be looking up for you in the schools. When schools start back?
Next week.
Oh, next week.
For the county schools, August 9th.
So be careful next week when schools are back on the road. And stay tuned with us for the first half of the lineup. And our guest, the mayor of Hobson City, again with us on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. First up on our lineup this week, Kaylee Hollingsworth. Miss Hollingsworth, last known to be living in Jacksonville. She's wanted on a probation violation for chemical endangerment of a child, promoting prison contraband second, and manufacture of a controlled substance. And this is Fidel Baker. Mr. Baker, last known to be living in Cropwell. He's wanted for probation violation on escape third, possession of a controlled substance, and distribution of a controlled substance, and receiving stolen property first. And we'd like you to take a look at Joshua Geis. Mr. Geis, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for a probation violation for domestic violence strangulation. And this is DeMarcus Prater. Mr. Prater, last known to be living in Jacksonville, he's wanted for a failure to appear on distribution of a controlled substance. And meet Michael Angel. Mr. Angel, last known to be living in Jacksonville, he's wanted for failure to appear on domestic violence strangulation. And have a look at Sandra Hyde. Miss Hyde, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for a probation violation on possession of a controlled substance, illegal possession of prescription drugs, and failure to appear in trafficking stolen identities. Take a look at Chester Coleman. Mr. Coleman, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for a failure to appear on burglary third and a failure to register under the Sex Offender Registration Notification Act. And meet Brent Sailors. Mr. Sailors, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to appear for theft by deception first. And that's it for the first half of our lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show. Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in that half of the lineup. You know where they are. You call Crime Stoppers or call the Sheriff's Office. You call, they haul. We're here with the Mayor of Hobson City, Alberta McCrory. Madam Mayor,
Good
always
morning.
a pleasure.
It is such a pleasure to be here with you. I really appreciate you having me on to talk about Hobson City, a place that I grew up in, was born in and loved, and just looking to make some great changes and
Well, you are making
do some
changes
great things for our community and our people there. So I
City's
really
growing.
appreciate you doing this.
People don't know it yet, but
Right.
the people right there at the epicenter of this growth, Carl, you guys get down there a lot.
Yes.
They can feel it, but we're going to get that to reverberate throughout the state and the nation.
Absolutely, because there's a young man who grew up in Hobson City who's redeveloping property there in Hobson City. He has a home right now, right there on the main street. I mean, it doesn't look like anything like what it used to look like. And so what I'm excited about is that there are young people with ties to Hobson City who are buying property in Hobson City and renovating those homes. And one other business place that a young lady just recently purchased. And so, you know, to have our young people to come in and do that, that really lets you know where their heart is and where their mind is in terms of economic development and, you know, community development, things like that, that's going to make this community what we want it to be.
You know, that's outstanding. To bring the young people back is a key to growing the community. And, you know, with a lot of jobs being remote from home,
Absolutely.
just like the sheriff's office, deputies can report in
Right. We don't want them remote.
No, they can't be remote. But there are a lot of jobs that are remote, and the young people want to get out of the cities and they want to get into nice country living, you know, nice peace and quiet, and that's something you can encourage, I guess.
Absolutely. And talking about, you know, the nice country living, there's a gentleman who purchased a home there in Hobson City, one that this young man renovated. And I think he's from California, but he moved there from Mississippi. He's a white man.
Okay.
I went up and met him, he and his son, and he said they were looking for a nice, quiet place. And then you can sit there and just look out at those mountains and how beautiful this place is. And that's, you know, Hobson City. You know, we're just surrounded by all of that good nature, and we just want people to come and enjoy it with us.
It's a beautiful place.
And we have, sometime this month, they're going to start breaking the ground for the first new home that's to be built, and with, you know, that's part of our Nehemiah project.
Right.
Part of rebuilding Hobson City.
Big celebration for that, right?
Yeah. So we're
excellent.
waiting for that to happen. The fellows are working on it. They're tying up the ends right now. Christopher Lindsay and his group is doing that. Fresh Homes, I think it's what they call a fresh start, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this month, you've got a lot of stuff going on this
Yeah,
month.
we are celebrating 123 years since the first black town was established where black people govern themselves in the state of Alabama. And so we're going to start on Sunday the 14th with a big celebration in the park. And so we're asking everybody to come out. And we have several ministers, New Hope Baptist Church, Oak Ridge Baptist Church, the Men's Fellowship, Pastor Elizabeth Hughley from Covenant Ministries. And a lot of people are going to be in the park. We're going to have some singing and praising the Lord. Unfortunately, we thought we were going to be able to have a dove releasing, but the gentleman said it has been too hot.
Oh.
And so he has not had them out since COVID, and we will not be able to do the
dove
doves. And so we wanted to do balloons, but we have some people who are concerned about the environment, and so we will not be releasing as many, but we just want to maybe, you know, still do something because
bubbles. You can do bubbles.
Okay, thank you.
Blow
We can do bubbles. We can do bubbles.
Carl's good
because
at blowing
you know to kind of something that symbolizes that releasing.
Yeah.
And getting prepared for the restoration and everything.
You can get one of those huge bubble machines.
Okay.
I don't know where you get
That's
them,
a
but I know
great
they have
idea.
them. The theater has
That's
them.
a great idea. Well, we'll see, and then if not, we'll just have to go with some other little smaller bubbles.
That's okay. That's okay.
And
That's great.
so we're doing that on Sunday, and then on the 18th, we'll have our plenary sessions. We have several speakers. Our local attorney, Cleo Thomas, is going to do our luncheon on Thursday. And on Thursday evening at 6, we have invited Charles Person, who's one of the original Freedom Riders. So we're hoping that he will be able to be with us on Thursday. Friday morning, we're going to start out with a tour in Anniston of the civil rights monuments, the
Freedom
trail.
Riders Monument, yeah.
And the Freedom Riders Monument, the murals at the bus station. We'll go there, and then when we go back to Hobson City, we'll have a session on community and economic development strategies and tools for dealing with small, underserved communities.
Oh, nice.
Then we'll eat again, and we'll have an attorney from Washington, D.C. by the name of Jamelia Gleason,
Okay.
who's an attorney and a writer who has written a fictitious book about black towns and settlements, and she mentions Hobson City in her book.
Really?
And she has ties with Demopolis, Alabama, but she has visited Hobson City since she talks about it in her book. So she'll be there for that session, and then after that, the remainder of that time will be spent with a group out of Birmingham and some other doctors that we've invited, and some local doctors, to talk about COVID-19 and what we can do as a community to continue to be safe and encourage people who want to take their vaccine and their booster, and talk about some of the health disparities that exist. That was the reason a lot of black people died from COVID, and talk about those things like how do we address high blood pressure and diabetes and those things like that. If we can get rid of some of those underlying illnesses that caused us to die so quickly, and that we want to talk about those kinds of things
And
as
we'll
well.
talk more about that in a minute. We got to take a break, and we'll be right back here in just a minute. And you've got the second half of the lineup, so stay with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to the second half of our lineup. First up this half, Rachel Williams. Miss Williams, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for failure to appear on manufacture of a controlled substance. This is Dominic Calloway. Mr. Calloway, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted on a probation violation for assault first. And take a look at Ashley Nicole. Miss Nicole, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for failure to appear on human trafficking second, possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana second, use and possession of drug paraphernalia, and soliciting or committing prostitution. Take a look at Alicia Freeman. Miss Freeman, last known to be living in Sylacauga. She's wanted on a probation violation for theft of property first and burglary third. We'd like you to meet Antoine McClooney. Mr. McClooney, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted for failure to appear in burglary third. And that's it for our Crime Stoppers this week. Please, if you have any information on these folks, give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number 1-833-251-7867. Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in that half of the lineup that you might know where they are. And if you do, call the Sheriff's Office, call Crime Stoppers. We're here with the Mayor of Hobson City, Alberta McCrory, and we're talking about all the wonderful things that are going on in Hobson City. Madam Mayor, so we left her for break. We were talking about a huge topic of health disparity in the black communities and how COVID has really presented that as a big problem.
It is a big problem, and we want people to know, even when they come out to the celebration, we expect them to, continue to follow those mandates that have been set by CDC. We're going to have everything. We'll have the sanitizers and the hand stations and things like that. But we also want our people, all of us, to get serious about our health. High blood pressure is something that, with diet, exercise, and I must say that I just started back exercising after not exercising.
Well, Carl, he's been exercising, haven't you?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He has a rigid exercise routine.
okay. and because, eating right is just not all of it. It's several, it's some other little components to that. So we can kind of get a handle on that. Because then you have the high blood pressure, and then you have the problems that it affects your kidneys, it affects other organs.
Well, you could do a whole seminar right in Hobson City about health in the black community, and our, if he's still alive, the doctor, Satcher.
Yeah, he's alive and well. He
yes,
just
yes,
got
he
married
is.
again.
Yeah,
so
okay.
He's well alive.
I thought he might be, but
Yes.
but he was our Surgeon General,
Yes, absolutely.
and he would be a great.
I'll just see if I can just shoot him an email, because he knows about the events. I think we sent something to him not long ago. I mean, several months ago.
Well, that could be a
weeks ago.
national event right there in Hobson City.
And it could be. It could very well be, because the organization that I'm working with out of Birmingham called Acclimate, one of the people used to work for UAB, and in fact, that's how I met her, through Dr. Satcher's work at Morehouse with the Mayors for Healthy Communities Project. And so, and that's how, and she's the person by the name of Jonas Thompson, and maybe I can get Jonas over here one day. So we've talked about that, And we might just need to have a whole day.
Well, I think a whole 3 or 4 day event on
Uh-huh.
it's a huge issue.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Satcher would be such a focal point of that. He'd
Uh-huh.
bring the national media, right?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
We'd get him on
Absolutely.
a show. He can come down.
Yes, and I met someone in Louisiana a few years ago who's a friend of Dr. Satcher's. His name is Dr. Jon Garlick.
Okay.
He's from the Maryland area, and he used to be over the Office of Minority Health.
Okay.
So Dr. Rufkin would be a good person as well to have. And it's good to have people like that you have their emails and the phone with you. But I don't call them and bother them unless I need them.
Well, they're the mover
And
and
so
shakers.
I'm going to need them to help because this is something that Jonas just mentioned the other day. You know, we need to. You need to call your people at CNN, and you need to call these. And at that time, I wasn't thinking of things as being of that magnitude. But we've got to have this conversation, and we've got to be able to not just talk about it, but do some things to help lower the blood pressure and decrease these numbers of people with diabetes and dialysis and all of these things that are connected with the high blood pressure.
Well, I think Hobson City should lead the way. Alabama has a huge medical footprint there in Birmingham. You guys have a medical footprint in there with the AIDS clinic, right? And I think you should grow on it. Now, we got to break again.
Okay.
So it was a pleasure. Give us the dates real quick for the stuff coming up.
August the 14th in the park in Hobson City. August the 18th at the FEMA building during the day at the Anniston Meeting Center at 6 o'clock. Then on Friday the 19th we'll be in Anniston for the Civil Rights Trail stuff, and then back to the FEMA building. And then on Saturday, that's when everybody comes out in the park. This was something that was started by Vanessa Irvin and Katrina Burks. They just wanted people to come out in the park one day, and then about 1,000 people showed up.
Well, just show
And
up
so-
on those dates.
And so we want people to come out on Saturday in the park.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being on the show again. We'll
Thank
see you
you
next
so
month,
much.
no doubt.
Okay.
And please stay with us. We have the Crime Stoppers portion of the show, and then Carl, he's going to get a little crazy with our crazy criminal here on Calhoun County Most Wanted. And welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, where we ask you to help us with the following cases. First up on your caseload, sometime between July 7th and July 24, a steel chainsaw and come-along hoist and various hand tools were stolen from a residence on Charlie Penny Road in Piedmont. And between March 1st and July 15th, a 2001 white Ford Taurus was stolen from a residence on Ember Lane in Ohatchee. And between July 15th and July 18th, 15 Ironman tires were stolen from a residence on Golden Valley Road in Ohatchee. And on July 7th, Highway 78 East in Anniston, a large assortment of hand tools, sawzalls, drills, safety ropes, climbing harnesses, extension cords, and a grinder were stolen from a work trailer there. And sometime on July 6th at Aaron's on South Quintard in Anniston, a red Troy-built 46-inch Bronco lawnmower was stolen from the front parking lot. And between May 10th and May 21st, at a home on Highway 431 in Alexandria, a train air conditioning unit was damaged and an unknown amount of copper wiring stolen. Between April 12th and April 13th, a 2016 silver Dodge Charger with a black hood was stolen off the shoulder of I-20 in Oxford. And that's it for the Crime Stoppers cases this week. If you have any information on these cases, please give Crime Stoppers a call. That number 1-833-251-7867. Welcome back. Now, because we have Carl here and he's the mental health officer, we're just going to talk about crazy.
Okay.
And that's really a derogatory term. We're really going to talk about mental health. We talked about the schools at the top of the show and how we got the mental health liaisons. But you're the mental health officer.
Correct.
And you respond to calls from other agencies. And so tell us what you've been doing briefly since I've been gone from that job.
Well, it really hasn't changed much since you left. We're there for anyone really that feels like they know someone, a family member or a friend that may need our help. We answer calls. We go out and visit people, and
Now, the legislation, there had some new legislation just come out. I don't know if you've read it, but the fundamental change in that is that when you do a commitment now, it doesn't have to be the immediate stuff. You can go back in time and grab previous behaviors
Correct.
to help articulate
Yeah,
danger to themselves and others.
So we used to have to rely on things within the last couple of months, and I believe now we can go back as far as 2 years, and that really helps if somebody has been in treatment before. You know, that we can show that there is a pattern there, or that they need treatment. Obviously, they've had treatment in the past, and for whatever reason, they're not seeing a doctor currently, or whatever the situation is.
Now, we're still short of treatment beds, right?
All the time, yeah.
And I know that we've got 4 crisis facilities, not crisis residential programs, but crisis units. Wellstone in Huntsville. There's one opening in Birmingham, and then one in Mobile, and one in Montgomery. Any talk about us getting one here? No, we need one. They're crisis beds that law enforcement can take people to,
Right.
and they've got 10 or 15 beds, and people stay there for 72 hours. They stabilize them medically and psychologically, and then we decide what to do with them. Well, Carl, it's good to have you in that position. We appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate everybody else being with us here, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.